Howdy y'all, welcome to Nerd Studio. We're out at the range today with the full-size Sig P320. Gonna put some rounds downrange, give you our initial thoughts. Stay tuned. Yeehaw! I've been wanting to do some videos on these guns for a while. I was really intrigued by the feature set, and we'll get into that in a minute, but picked it up a couple of weeks ago. I've got probably 300-400 rounds downrange through it, just getting the first video done now. But pulling it out of the box, it comes with 2 magazines and this outside the waistband holster. I'll show you a little more in depth on that here in a bit. The features of the gun, I think the most intriguing thing, if you haven't heard about the P320, is its modular design. And what do they call this guy? This is called a modular grip frame and removable fire control unit. And let me show you what that means. I'll try and do it right out here at the range. So you pull the slide off, and you grab your slide release or your takedown lever, pull on it, and you spin that guy around, and it comes out. And then the fire control group lifts right out of there. And get a little closer to you there. So really all you've got left is a hollow plastic frame. Pretty crazy. Let me see if I can put it back together. This may take me a bit. The light is not all that great today. Ooh. So this isn't something you're going to do, you know, while you're in an emergency situation. I find when you slide that back in there, you pull the trigger back and it'll seat it real well. And then I grab my dingus here, my takedown lever, and it really only goes in there one way. You slide that guy in there, line him up, spin him around, and well, we're almost there, folks. There it goes. And you're good to go. Put the slide back on. And what good does this do you? Well, guess what? Aha. All right. So what good does that do you? Well, that fire control group is the only serialized part on the gun, which means you can take that that trigger unit, the fire trigger control group. What do they call it? I got a note here. It is the removable fire control assembly. You can pull that assembly out. It's the serialized part. That's the thing the ATF cares about. So you only need one of those, and then you can change the size, and we can go from full, carry, compact, and subcompact in your existing caliber, and that involves getting a new slide and a new barrel, of course, and you've got to get a new grip so it fits the smaller frame. But you only have to technically buy one gun. So if you live in a state or a country where you're only allowed to have, say, one pistol in the house, or you're only able to own one pistol, or let's say you live in a state, and I can't name one off the top of my head here, but you live in a state where they only allow you to put one pistol on your concealed carry license. Well, that removable part is the thing that's got the serial number. That is the gun. That means you can have multiple configurations of that gun and still legally be able to carry it on your concealed carry permit. That's very cool. You can also change the caliber. Mine is a 9mm, but with this setup, you can buy a caliber conversion kit, which is just buying the different slide and the barrel and all of that. Pop your trigger assembly out, put it inside the new guts, and there you go. You can go from 9 to 40, 357 SIG, and I think 45 ACP is out. So that's pretty amazing. Now, one of the things I was concerned about with this gun, having all of that versatility, is it going to shoot like crap? So far, I've not noticed one bit of finickiness about the gun as far as ammunition goes. We've shot all kinds of crazy stuff through it already. We shot 50 rounds of, this is aluminum cased, nylon tipped stuff from Hers out of it. Of course, my standard Freedom munitions. We've got some Brown Bear here, so that's going to be steel cased. I think we shot some Wolf, whatever their poly-coated stuff was. And some of our reloads, I have not seen one failure in any respect out of this gun. Been 100% so far. The reality is it shoots really nice. It actually is a really comfortable gun to shoot. I just in my first 300 rounds, I've already started to do some draws with it, working it into some regular training. I'm hitting really well with it, and Sig is known for having sort of that high bore axis thing going, and I typically like a little lower bore axis gun, and I mean, you can get into all kinds of arguments about that, but I like a gun that rides a little lower than this, the Glock, for instance, but this one actually shoots really well for me, and I can be sort of particular. I can be sort of finicky about the way the gun rides. The recoil impulse for looking at it and seeing sort of that high slide, the recoil impulse on this gun is really very straight back. Right now, there's a different sight picture because I got the factory sights. They're not night sights. They're just white dot sights. I don't know how rugged they are. But I'm hitting really well in this first 300 rounds. I'm really, really impressed. What are some other features? This has a partially pretensioned striker, and what that means is when you rack the slide like that and you're ready to fire, when you pull the trigger, you still have to pull the striker back a little further. The Glock is like this. Not all guns are, and it's part of the safety of the gun. If you drop this right now, the striker is not far enough back to actually send the round down range if it were to somehow slip by its safety and come down and hit the firing pin. It wouldn't have enough pressure to actually hit the primer to hard enough to set it off. So when you're pulling the trigger, you are actually completing the cocking cycle, and that's part of the safety mechanism of the gun. Now, the striker assembly itself, and I'm not going to get into this video, but it has another safety on it. And we'll do a little bit more about that probably in part 2. It does have a reversible magazine release, and I promise I'll get a closer look at this gun here in this video. I've said that in a couple of videos and then didn't do it, so my bad. Whoever it was that brought that up, I apologize. But anyway, the magazine release is reversible, so that makes the gun ambidextrous from a firing standpoint. Of course, you don't have the takedown lever on either side. It's not a firing mechanism for the gun, so not a big deal. You can get now this doesn't have the dingus, the tab safety trigger, and it has no external safety, obviously. It's a striker fire gun. They typically don't. But if you're in law enforcement, you're a law enforcement agency, and you need those things according to your policies and procedures, they are options. You can get a tab trigger safety for this and an external safety. So that's pretty cool. So let me talk a little bit about what my plans are for this gun. Some guns I buy and they're fun or they're interesting, or people have been saying, hey, can you get a hold of one of those to try and shoot it? And I have fun and bring them out to the range and give you just some thoughts about it. This gun I've been looking at for quite a while. I'm very interested in the utility of it. Does it actually work for me as a carry piece? Can I conceal it? Can I learn to shoot it well enough to feel comfortable that I can defend myself with it? All of those good things. And my plan is to try and do that with this gun. If you've been watching my series on the M&P, which I have right here, I've been doing the same thing with it, trying to give another brand a chance, and that's what I'm going to do with the P320. And this is going to be just the first in a series of videos on that. I've already put the Talon Grips on this guy. Now the gripping surface on this frame is like sandpaper, and that's not bad. I still like the Talon Grip better. It makes all the difference for me. I'm so used to that Talon Grip, but I've got them on all my other guns. And if I'm going to do a direct comparison, I really do want that same gripping surface. So I've already got the Talon Grips on here. And I got to say, this has been the hardest gun to put Talon Grips on out of all the guns that I've put them on. I think we're up to, I don't know, 10 different models or 11 different models. And it's just, I think because of that sandpaper grip, the Talon sticky part didn't really want to stick to that all that well. And so I'm still working on it. You can see, I'll try and get a little close up of this, but the Talon Grip is sort of coming up here. Still working on that. We're going to put TFO night sight so that I have the same picture that I have, sight picture I have in all my Glocks and the M&P, so that I feel like I'm doing more of an apples to apples comparison. The trigger unit, because of the way this thing works, is going to remain stock. I'm not going to have any work done to it at all. And frankly, just out of the 300 rounds that I've shot and the gun's starting to break in, it doesn't need it. Now the trigger is 6.5 pounds. It's stout, but it's very crisp. It's very smooth. You don't have a ton of over travel. In fact, there's almost none. And the reset is very, very audible. It's not quite as audible and tactile as the Glock, but I like it a little better than the M&P. And I am learning to shoot off the reset a little better with this gun than I did the M&P. I like that a lot. And out of the box, I didn't have to do anything to the trigger. With my Glocks, I do trigger work to them to get them cleaned up. Glenn Jefferson is my man for that there at Rock City Guns. And for the M&P, I did the Apex trigger kit. So no changes to the trigger on this guy, just sights and the grips. As far as the trigger, a little bit more about that. It's very different. You can hear it, and I don't know why. I'll look into this, why it does this sort of clickety-clickety thing, which is a little different than any other striker fire gun I've operated, but I imagine it has something to do with the fact that this trigger assembly is removable. I'm guessing. Like I said, I'll try and figure out what that is over this series of videos, but all in all, the trigger is very crisp. I'm liking it a lot. I'm going to have to learn to shoot it, but just on that first 300 pounds, or 300 pounds, a little Freudian slip there. On that first 300 rounds, it is feeling really good, and I was just really pleasantly surprised about that. Looking at size, this is, of course, their full-size duty weapon gun. It's a 17-round magazine. It's roughly the same size what you'd expect out of your M&P line, your Glock 17. I'll get the camera down and we'll lay these two guns side by side so you can sort of see the comparison. The slide's a bit tapered here. I like that a lot. All in all, the gun feels really good. Now, I will have to get a concealment holster for it, so I haven't chosen that yet. I'm still we're dating, getting to know each other. We haven't maybe got to first base. I don't know, some bad metaphor there. Yeah, I'm just sort of rambling at this point. All in all, I'm really, really impressed. I'm excited to do the reviews. I'm excited to do the videos on this gun, and I'm really excited to take you along with me while we try it out. I hope you're looking forward to it. I know I am. All right, folks, that's our first video on the P320. We'll do some more probably in the next month or so. Always remember, anyone can shoot and have fun. We'll see you next time.
Yeehaw!